Let's walk around this property together and I'm going to share you exactly how I quote property maintenance, shrub trimming, spring cleanup, mulch, fixing edging. Come on, let's go. I'm out doing quotes for real in my business right now. This is a real quote. So, all right, the first thing I'm seeing, this arborvitae is dead, needs to be removed. You can literally just grab this and pull it out of the ground and throw it in the dump trailer. So I always try to keep these at a minimum of 50 bucks. Of course, you can charge a man-hour rate. You might want to charge $85 per man-hour. But I'm also charging things itemized because I have a standardized price chart. And when I reflect all the math, it pretty much hits my man-hour rate, but my goal is to beat my man-hour rate by itemizing things, right? So when I give a customer a quote, like 50 bucks for removing that shrub, I'm showing them exactly where their money is going and itemized. That's just how I like to do it. Now, if I look here in all these garden beds, there's black shredded mulch. This year, mulch is $150 per yard installed. This specific property, we actually charged the customer a few years ago. We charged them to remove like an entire dump trailer load of mulch because it was piled too high in the garden beds and overflowing. So we come back in, reset. So a yard of mulch, if you check the link in the description below, I have an entire video about mulch and how much to charge and how to measure it. So I'm looking at about 140 square feet for a yard of mulch. So I'm looking at a half a yard of mulch here. Let's go around to the front. So we got a yard here. I'm also going to be quoting, oh, here's a huge tip, future-proofing your jobs. You're always, if you're doing mulch and garden bed maintenance for a customer, you should be selling packages, add-ons and upsells. Giving a customer an option to trim their ornamental trees and shrubs and pull the weeds and edge out the garden beds, all that stuff. So I'm looking, like let's just say it's April and you're quoting a customer, but you're not going to be doing the work for 5 weeks. Maybe you're booked out. Quote as if the shrubs have 5 weeks more of growth on them. I've made that mistake before, have you? Where you do a quote and then you come back and everything's overgrown. You're like, whoa, you just gotta eat it. So quote properly. All this edging is coming up all over the garden beds, see? All over the place. So one, we can take rubber mallets and we can pound it down and just charge the customer. Like if it takes an hour of fixing everything with 2 guys, let's say, what's your man-hour rate? Let's just say it's 80 bucks an hour, $160 to repair edging. But sometimes the roots can push it up. We're in Michigan, so there's the freeze-thaw cycle, freeze-thaw, freeze-thaw, freeze-thaw. And some yards that get really wet, it just keeps pushing up. You have to maintenance it, all right? So this right here, now I'm really looking at this for real. I have to for my business, it's important. This is gonna have to be, I'm looking over here. Yeah, so I'm gonna let this customer know that we can kind of fix it and put it back in and make it look better. But if they want it to look great, we're gonna have to rip up all this old edging and just install brand new edging because it's just really, really old and dilapidated. Okay, so trimming these shrubs right here, this is the kind of thing that's changed for me. I used to look at a bush and go, oh, it's gonna be $100 to trim this one and $60 to trim this one. These boxwoods, we've trimmed these before. They take a while to trim. Very deceiving. Depending on the amount, the foliage on the boxwood, these have hundreds of thousands of pieces of foliage. So when you trim this, it takes like 3 times as long as you expect. When I send a crew out to trim shrubs, I'm like, what is taking them so long? If they're doing a good job, it takes a long time. It could take you 25, 30 minutes to trim this whole thing. Trim the whole thing, put down tarps. We're gonna put fresh mulch here so we don't have to put down tarps. You're gonna rake it up. And then shake the whole thing off like this, and then trim it again. You're talking a full half an hour just to trim this. Right, so what is that? Let's say you're charging 80 bucks a man hour, $40 to trim this? I don't know. I just want to go by the man hour rate. So that's why I'm looking at, I'm looking at it differently. how can I explain this now? How to charge? Come back here as I think about it. That's what it is. So I'm looking at day rates. I'm looking at how long, like, hey.
Hey, get over here. No, I swear to God, you don't like. Come here.
Oh, I remember last time he came right up to me and I was.
Let's go.
That's a great dog. All right, so if it costs you $833 a day to run the truck, hey sir, we're making a YouTube video giving landscaping tips. You accidentally got in my video. Do you want me to cut you out or do you care?
No, I don't care.
You don't?
I apologize.
No, that's okay. Thanks. So, cool, because that dog was cool. But I learned from Cesar Millan, if a dog comes up to you, you just kind of like this, and that'll decrease the chances. Because if you're like, hi, you might get your finger bit. I got bit by a pit bull once. It wasn't fun. All right, so these arborvitaes, trimming all these. Are you also, does the customer think that you're going to take a shovel and edge out all of these garden beds? Or are you just going to throw mulch on? That's not right. So if you're sticking a shovel in the garden bed, look at this edging right here. All this has got to get edged out with a nice new delineated deep 4-inch deep line cut. You're going to have to get a wheelbarrow or a tarp and dig all this edging out. That takes time. Think about that. The new mulch. I'm obsessed with time. So if it takes you $833 a day to run a truck to where you can pay the guys and everything, and it makes you the money you need to make, well, think about inflation. So I'm shooting for, well, I want to make $1 million a minute, right? How much can the market bear? So let's just say you're trying to go for $900 a day for a truck. The people that I know that have these multi-million-dollar businesses, the trucks are doing $1,500 a day in landscaping and maintenance. If you're talking about like hardscaping and luxury outdoor living spaces, these guys can't even turn the ignition on the truck unless that truck is doing at least $2,500 a day for that truck. So for me, $900 a day. So if we're coming out here, our average ticket job was $312.50. And because I started offering add-ons and upsells, like for instance, our average ticket job now is $1,649.50. That's our average ticket job. So that's a lot more than $900 in a day. The reason is because I started offering add-ons and upsells. So if a customer says, hey, we want some bushes trimmed, I say, okay, well, if we're trimming the bushes, let's pull all the weeds in all the garden beds and edge out all the garden beds, and let's trim the ornamental trees and clean everything up and then put down 2 inches of mulch. Let's do a whole property package and just get it all done for you for the summer. Why have us do one thing, right? And we also have a $700 minimum to do any job, a $700 minimum. That means I need to get that job done and get to another job and make my day rate, or I don't even want to go to work that day to go work all day to make $200. That's insane. You're just turning over dollars. If you have to do that to get going, that makes sense. So when I'm quoting this job, I'm saying, how do we get this job so it's at least at $900? So I'm quoting the job off of a day rate as well. So spring cleanups have been $250 for a spring cleanup. Now it's $350 for a spring cleanup, plus $60 per yard of debris removed, okay? Look at this tree. This tree is beautiful. I love this tree. We trimmed this up very carefully before. This right here, how many square feet do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, minus the rocks. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, but it's not a perfect square. You could say it's 170 square feet at 2 inches, half a yard right there. Because what's 70 times 2, 140. Look at these. These are called densiforme yew shrubs. Oh, here's another thing you have to watch out for. If you, or especially if you're sending employees to do the work, look at this beautiful siding. Being hyper careful that the shrub trimmers are not damaging somebody's property. Because you go in to trim behind there and make it perfect. So, I'm taking out my calendar, I'm calculator, I'm doing the math. This customer wants 2 inches of mulch, that shrub removed that I talked about earlier. Pulling out my calculator. We use Jobber as well. If you want a awesome software to run your business on, the Jobber app runs my whole business. Automatic payment collections, everything. Go to getjobber.com/Kelphus. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can get a free 2-week trial of Jobber and a huge discount with my exclusive link. All right, calculator. $50 for that shrub. The spring cleanup, there's not a spring cleanup, it's just the beds need to be fixed. So to fix all the edging, let me look around here. That's all, oh, it's messed up here. We can't fix that. We got the edging over there. I'm looking at 2 hours times one guy, 160. I'm sorry. The man-hour rate was 74, and now I'm shooting towards 85. So it's 170. Then mulch, we need 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever I quote mulch, I like to have a little more. I like to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, because that's coming out of your pocket. The moral dilemma, if you have an extra wheelbarrow of mulch, you can find a place to put it. If you can't find a place to put it, just get rid of it and throw it away. It's just part of the game. Because I started thinking, like, I don't go up to the customer's door and say, we accidentally have 2 wheelbarrows left over of mulch. Let me refund you $14. It's like, we just get rid of it. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, we need an extra half a yard of mulch. I'm sorry, you can't tell the customer, oh, we're gonna bill you an extra $70. That's not fair. So you better know your numbers. I could say mulch at 150 a yard. 1 yard, 2, 3, 4.5. And we don't do half yards. Let me double check. 1, 2, plus those, it's 4.5. I'm gonna have to do 4.5. So 150 times 4.5. We're at $8.95. And then there was one other thing. Oh yeah, trimming of all the shrubs. Plus $350 to trim all the shrubs on this property, $1,245. Okay, so back in the day, I would have done all of this for $795. Now we're at $1,245 because I'm calculating how much, and this video is not about that. Like, I can make a whole video and sit down with my bookkeeper and look at the profit and loss statements and look at the cost of goods sold, the administrative, the payroll, the taxes, the unemployment insurance. We track all that down to the penny to come up with these rates, but this video isn't about that. Come in the truck real quick. I'm gonna share something, a crazy story with you. You're gonna love it. I'm going to teach you something. A little cold out. All right. So, I never talk about my customers in my videos. I don't. It's just unprofessional. And I love my business. And I love taking care of customers. But there's a property in this subdivision that we did a job for. It was a $1,000 job to trim up the shrubs, pull the weeds, edge the garden beds, and put down mulch. Well, a few years ago, I sent my employees over to do it, and I had a couple new guys. Even though they knew how to do it because I trained them, they were very slow. So they took like 5.5 hours or 6 hours to do this job, and I had to jump over and help them finish up in order to get the thing done. And build the customer, everything was beautiful. Well, what happened was, during the lockdowns, it was a crazy hot summer day. It was just me and one other guy. We went and did the same $1,000 job because the customers were happy. Bro, we did this shit so fast. I mean, I literally jumped out with the trimmers. We set up tarps. I trimmed nonstop, trimmed all the shrubs in like 27 minutes. While my guy was pulling the weeds, we were edging out the beds, cleaning everything up. We ran and we got the mulch, we backed the dump trailer up to the garden beds and took the pitchfork, boom, 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 huffed all the mulch in the beds, right? My guy was spreading it out. I was throwing it behind the bushes everywhere, and it looked like chaos, but it was precision. But this was so fast. It was 104 degrees out, heat advisory, and when it was done, it was perfecto. I would not cut corners, but we did it so fast that we got the whole job done, just me and one. So there was 3 guys, and then I jumped in before, 5.5. We got this whole shit done in like 2.5 hours, but it was perfect. The customer was upset because they thought we were cutting corners, but I asked the customer, I was like, so this is, if you read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, they talk about having a consistent experience every single time. The customers build an experience and expectation in their head off what you did, and you have to replicate that. I said, well, was the work nice? Did it look great? They were like, well, everything looked great, but the customer thought that we had thrown the mulch on top of the trimmings to cover it up, but we didn't. We cleaned up all the trimmings. We wouldn't cover up trimmings. We cleaned it up because I believe in my head they believe that because they could not figure out how we did it so fast. And I just kept my mouth shut, and I was really, really nice. And we haven't done work for the customer since. And I still, to this day, I just want to call them up and tell them the story of how we actually did it that fast. But it's like, it's not even worth my time. So my point is, there's something I learned called the art of the show. If you have to slow down a little bit and be very nice and orderly in how you work. For instance, like if you have a landscape business and you got grass cutting guys, you got commercial guys, and you got residential guys. And commercial guys do the commercial lawn cutting only, and the residential guys cut the residents' lawns. Let's just say you send the commercial guys to go cut the residential lawns for a day. Those commercial guys, they're going to be flying because they're used to covering hundreds of thousands of square feet and hauling ass trimming the property, like working. They're doing a good job, but they're used to going really fast. So the commercial guys are now going to show up, and your customers who are used to getting their lawns cut by these guys, they're going to freak out. Especially elderly people sometimes, they might call the office and be like, oh my God, these guys are flying. They're running around. I don't even know if they're doing a good job. It's because they're the commercial guys. Does that make sense? So you have to tell them, hey, slow down a little bit and have a courteousness about the way you conduct your behavior. So when the customers look out the window, they feel assured that you're doing a great job. Because if they see you running like a maniac, that they're going to equate that with bad job, right? So that's a very important thing. All right. You got to check out my Level Up Your Landscaping Business workshop, where I'm going to teach you the 3 levers to pull to take your landscaping business. You get more profits immediately. I talked about some of it here in this video, add-ons and upsells and packages. I'm going to share all that stuff. And go to keithkalfas.com/levelup, or click the link in the description below, Level Up, and register for my free workshop. We're going to dive deep, and I'll share with you the levers. It's basically going to save you. It's a bunch of mistakes to avoid, and it's so fun. I'll see you there on my Level Up workshop. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Peace.